Assalamualaikum dear students, this is your course instructor Rao Aisha Sadiq, lecturer Department of English, University of Southern Punjab, Multan. Dear student, in today's lecture, we are going to explore one of the most powerful novels in contemporary Pakistani literature, that is Kamila Shamsi's Burnt Shadows. We are dealing with it from the last two lectures. Dear student, through the lenses of memory and space, we are going to explore it. Our today's discussion will look at how Shamsi transformed personal trauma into collective memory and how space, particularly the human body, becomes the site of remembering and identity formation. So student, Burnt Shadows within the broader literary discourse of memory studies connects it to the philosophy, mythology, rhetoric, and ultimately showing how Shamsi constructs a transnational narrative that is both intimate and universal. So student, memory and literature has been a central concern for centuries. If we see the ancient Greek mythologies of Simonides, a poet invented a banquet by noblemen, and then it collapses. Simonides is the only survivor. He is the later able to identify the bodies of the dead guests by recalling where each person sat during the feast. The act of remembering gave birth to creativity. Philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, and Cicero also emphasized this link. Aristotle, for instance, defined memory as a collection of mental picture from sense impression. For Cicero, memory was one of the 5 parts of rhetoric: invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery. In other words, to write or speak is to remember, to retrieve from within oneself images, words, and experiences that shape communication and identity. Even narrative techniques like flashback, flash forwards, and the stream of consciousness mimic the way human memory works: non-linear, fragmented, and emotionally charged. So when we think about Burnt Shadows, we must see it not only as a story about war and displacement, but also a narrative of memory, how trauma is remembered, embodied, and transmitted across generation. It links memory, space, and identity, a relationship between memory and space. In classical rhetoric, memory was tied to spatial imagination. Orators used the method of Lecky, where they mentally placed parts of their speech in different imagined locations like room in a palace to recall them later. The space become a container for memory. In literature, the same principle applies to spaces, landscape, houses, and even the body itself to become mnemonic sites, places where memory is stored and retrieved. The for scholars for memory studies, it is literature both thematically and formally closely interwoven with memory and identity. Characters often reconstruct who they are through what they remember, and these memories are deeply tied to the spaces they inhabit, their home, cities, or in the cases, their bodies. So student, this has been lighted. Memory is not a mirror of the past, but the reconstruction shaped by the present. Writers imitate memory, they produce, they reconstructualize it. So student, we rewrite the past to make sense of the present. So in Burnt Shadows, Kamila Shamsi is not merely represented Hiroko Tanaka's trauma, she is using it as a lens to reconstruct global histories of violence and connection. So student, let's turn to the novel itself. Burnt Shadows spans over 60 years and crosses multiple countries: Japan, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkey, and the United States. Its central character, Hiroko Tanaka, a Japanese woman who survives the atomic bombing in Nagasaki in 1945. At that moment, she is wearing a kimono with 3 black cranes printed on the back. After the explosion, the cranes are burned into their skin, leaving bird-shaped scars that become a lifelong reminder of that tragedy. Hiroko loses her fiancé Conrad, and in the bombing, seeking to reconnect with his family. She travels to India and meets Elizabeth and James Burton, Conrad's relative. There, she falls in love with Sajjad Ashraf, the Burton employees, and together they build a family that becomes entangled in the political histories of South Asia, from partition to the war on terror. Everywhere Hiroko goes, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, America, the scars on her back accompany her, symbolizing how memory, loss, and identity travel across borders. So student, the cranes is symbols of memory. One of the most fascinating insight concerning the crane shaped scars on Hiroko's back. So student, Why crane? Why not any other image? In Japanese culture, student, the crane is a symbol of peace, longevity and hope. After the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the story of Sadako Sasaki, a young girl who folding paper cranes in hope of healing from radiation-induced leukemia, turned the crane into a global symbol of peace and anti-nuclear resistance. Thus, Shamsi's use of the crane is highly intentional. It connects Hiraku's personal trauma to a broader historical and cultural symbol, that global desire for peace after unimaginable destruction. For Hiraku, the cranes are not just marks of pain, they are mnemonic imprints reminding of everything and everyone she lost. Whenever she touches her back, she feels the dead pressing down on her shoulder blades. The cranes transform her body into a living archive, a space where memory is literally inscribed. So student, if we see the writer's critics who calls Hiraku's body a book in which history has been written, every time she moves her hand across her back, she reopens the pages of that book. But these marks are double-edged. They are signify both remembrance and imprisonment. They are the wings of freedom and the chains of trauma. They embody the paradox that defines memory. It liberates us through meaning but confines us through pain. So student, her back, the back as a space of memory, focuses on why Shamsi chose Hiraku's bags as the site of the scar. Why not her face, her arms or her heart? The back, he argues, is symbolically powerful space. It is a part of a body that cannot easily see, just as there are parts of the other past that cannot fully confront. By placing the scars there, Shamsi suggests that some memories are too painful to face directly. They leave behind us, shaping us from the shadows. Hiraku's back to an attic in a house, a hidden storage place where unwanted objects of painful memories are tucked away. It's invisible, inaccessible, but always present. She can feel the pain, they ache, they turn, and they remind her that the past is never fully gone. The back, therefore, becomes a paradoxical space, invisible but unforgettable, hidden but ever felt. So this symbolism reflects the human condition. Our memory may fade from sight, but they never leave the body or the mind completely. So space, mobility and identity, they are connected. Now let's connect memory to mobility. Throughout the novel, Hiraku travels across continents. Yes, she never finds a permanent home. Each place, Japan, India, Pakistan, America, brings new languages, new cultures and political upheavals. She keeps moving, but her scars move with her. This mobility represents the search for identity. Her journey is not geographical, it is existential. She refuses to be defined by nationality, religion or history. James Burton, an Englishman, finds her puzzling. She cannot place her. To him, she is unclassifiable, a Japanese woman in trousers, a survivor who doesn't fit into new categories. This is what makes Burnt Shadows a transnational novel. Shamsi portrays identity as fluid, shaped by memory, not by birthplace or citizenship. Hiraku belongs nowhere, yet her story belongs everywhere. Even her son Raza inherits the burden of her memory, though born long after Nagasaki. He is still stigmatized by it, as if the cranes have flown from his mother's back into his destiny. This shows how trauma can be inherited, how memory transcends generation and national borders and boundaries. So we see the paradox of global memory. The very country that caused Hiraku's trauma, the United States, becomes the place where she moves to in search of safety. But their tragedy strikes again when her son was arrested after 9/11. The novel begins and ends with the same image. A man striped in a cell wearing an orange jumpsuit. This circular structure shows that history repeats itself, that memory and violence are cyclical. Through this repetition, Shamsi makes a powerful statement: no space is truly safe, no nation free from guilt, and no individual untouched by global trauma. So student, Burnt Shadows transform memory and space into a living symbol. The crane represent the persistence of memory, fragile yet enduring. The bag symbolizes the hidden painful space of remembrance, and Hiroko herself stands as a metaphor for human resilience, carrying the past across borders and languages and generations. Kamila Shamsi uses Hiroko's stories to remind us that our memories, both personal and collective, shape our identities and our histories. They may be invisible, like the scars on her back, but they continue to influence how we see the world and ourselves. So student, literature doesn't simply reflect memory, it creates, it's anew. In Burnt Shadows, Shamsi does precisely that. She reimagines global literary history through the lens of a woman's scarred body, transforming trauma into art and memory into meaning. So when we read Burnt Shadows, we are not just reading a story about war, love and loss. We are reading the story of a human remembrance, of how pain becomes poetry and how body becomes a map of world's history. So, to end this lecture, let's recall one line from the novel. Some days she could feel the dead on her back, pressing down beneath her shoulder blades with demands she could make no sense of. In that haunting sentence lies the essence of Kamila Shamsi's vision that history is not something that happens outside us, but something we carry on our skin, in our memory and in the spaces we inhabit. So student, this is all about today's lecture about memory, space and transnationalism. Thank you students. Stay blessed.